Thanks. Are you seeing my screen now?
Yes, I am.
Okay, great. Okay, here we go. Thank you, Craft Now. My name is Heather Mataderi. I'm the founder of an organization called Past Present Projects. And we are an organization that creates exhibitions of contemporary art in historic spaces. We've had projects previously at the Woodlands and the Ebenezer Maxwell Mansion in Philadelphia. At the end of this presentation, I will share our website, as well as all of the information on the artists that I'm going to be talking about as part of our current exhibition project, which is called Distant Memory. This is an image of Distant Memory, which is installed in a pair of historic storefront windows. The location is 703 South 4th Street, so it's right across from famous 4th Deli. And it features two artists, Emily Karis Duncan and Colin Pisano. And as part of the presentation tonight, I'm gonna start you out and then pass you over to my co-curator, Zinzi Harley, who's gonna tell you a little bit about how the exhibition relates to the history of Fabric Row, which is the neighborhood where the exhibition is installed. Then we'll hear from Emily and show some images of their work. And unfortunately, Colin couldn't make it tonight, so I'll speak a little bit about his work. But I just wanted to start you off with the idea that we created Distant Memory, the idea for it being this pop-up exhibition before the pandemic, but it's something that sort of gained a sense of meaning and usefulness as a way of experiencing art during a time of social distancing. So the title, Distant Memory, which was titled by my co-curator, Zinzi Harley, is referring both to like the distance, physical distance of social distancing. All of the artworks in the show were created during the time of social distancing, as well as a time in which we're reconsidering who should be publicly memorialized and looking more broadly at the concept of memory in general. This is just a little picture from our installation day, and Zinzi is all the way on the right in the photo. So at this point, Zinzi, I'd like to invite you to talk a little bit about how the exhibition Distant Memory relates to the history of Fabric Row.
Thank you, Heather, and thank you, Layla, for having us. Curating Distant Memory with Heather and both of the artists has been an amazing experience, and researching more about Fabric Row has been one of the joys of that. Fabric Row historically is a garment district in Philadelphia, and it's been a shopping destination for fabric and materials for over 100 years. The neighborhood has a long-standing reputation as a cultural center for immigration and commerce, specifically with the sale of fabrics and craft supplies. These neighborhoods were and still are home to a diverse community of hardworking families, craftsmen, and creatives. In recent years, many fabric shops have gone out of business and boutiques have moved into these spaces. However, the history of Fabric Row continues to influence the diverse communities and aesthetics of the area. Distant Memory exists as a cohabitation of textile and sculptural works that activate the historic site of Fabric Row through recontextualizing past objects and craft practices to bridge the memory of the original fabric shops and cultural communities with contemporary artistic production and consumerism. The installation aims to highlight the history and culture of one of Philadelphia's local communities, as well as provide an opportunity to support and provide resources for coping and healing from the uncertainty of the current social context of a country that is under the assault of two pandemics, COVID-19 and systemic racism. One of the artists in this installation is Emily Karis Duncan, and she's going to talk a little bit about her work in this project.
Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for having me, and thank you, Heather and Zinzi, for having me participate in this exhibition. It's been a wonderful experience. So with this piece, which is entitled Wisdom, it was created during COVID. I created the base of it at the beginning of COVID, kind of as an anxiety release, because I had no idea quite what to do with myself. The fabric in it is naturally dyed with Kutch, I believe Kutch walnut, and iron, which I typically use iron from a set of iron shackles that I have kind of disintegrating in a vinegar bath that I use in my solution to create some of the darker tones in the fabric. But both my dye practice is with natural dyes and pigments. So I wanted to kind of do some experimenting to see what it would be like to work with more kind of mono earth tones. And upon getting the invitation for this, I started thinking about the history of Fabric Row and how to integrate that into this piece. And during that point, the uprisings were kind of getting off the ground, and I was thinking a lot about what our history tells us about our present and how, you know, fixing something might actually be the thing that kind of saves you in the long run. And so I thought about kind of stitching idioms in relationship to the history of Fabric Row and, you know, the history of cloth there, the history of stitches there. And so I wanted to embroider something on this piece. And so a stitch in time saves 9 was the kind of like wise idiom that came up. You know, I wonder where we would be had we dealt with some of these issues, especially around racial justice, prior to the point where we're at now. Yeah, so, and at the, yeah, so you can see the iron liquor and the shackles in there. And also in the installation is a mound of dirt and a plant that is slowly wilting, which I wanted to think about also the you know, where are we going? To what end? And where are we going in terms of the environment, in terms of our society? If we don't get it together, we might kind of end up imploding into dust on ourselves. So yeah. Heather, did I miss anything?
That was beautiful, Emily. Thank you so much. So I'll jump in and tell you a little bit about Colin's work. And you know, the cool part about Distant Memory is we have Emily's piece on you know, the left-hand side of the storefront windows, and then Colin Pisano's work is on the right-hand side, and both of them use the quilt as this you know, vehicle for messaging. And I'll show you an image of Colin's quilt in a moment. So since Colin isn't able to join us tonight, what I thought I would do is just, I'm not going to play the video, but at the end of the presentation, I'll give you the website for viewing this 5-minute video interview with Colin, where he talks about the installation. And his installation within Distant Memory is called We've Never Met. And he has recreated in the manner of trompe-l'oeil these sort of material culture of Philadelphia, such as the classic wrought iron railing and the cast iron radiator, but he has fabricated them entirely in wood. And you just have to come see for yourself to understand like how incredibly he captures these iconic material culture forms in the medium of wood. But perhaps most dazzling is this quilt, which hangs as a pendant to Emily's embroidered quilt in the installation. And people who have seen the pictures just almost can't sometimes wrap their mind around how this is made of wood. It's so incredibly representative of the mimicking the fabric form. So you'll see in his video, he talks about how he's looking at objects that he's honoring objects that were made by people who he's never met. So this is in honor of a quilt that was made by his great-grandmother. And he's thinking about whether these people that he's never met might have ever even thought that these material objects would remain in the possession of the family and of their great-grandson. And she's just also thinking about the ways in which the things that we represent, the things that we memorialize, and, you know, the concept of the whole exhibition is thinking about what deserves to be memorialized. So I invite you to check out the website and watch Colin's video where he talks about his installation. The whole installation is up at 703 South 4th Street through October 31st. And I will also throw all of these social media handles into the chat. So I welcome, you know, any emails after the fact, and just thank you so much for inviting us to hear about the project, and please stop by the exhibition.
Thank you, Heather. That was incredible to see that work side by side, and the quilted piece next to the wooden piece that looks like a quilt, and the play on all the material and all the meaning that is infused in the work. I'm so glad you guys presented tonight. Thank you. So while we are changing over to our next speaker, I just want to take a minute and let you know about our annual symposium that is coming up. Scheduled to take place on 2 separate afternoons, October 30th and November 6th. So please save the dates in your calendar. This 2020 symposium, entitled Cultures of Making, is going to examine the many ways community, activism, research, and connection develop out of collaborative craft practices here in Philadelphia, all the way over to the Santa Clara Pueblo and beyond. Our keynote speakers include Vashti Dubois, Executive Director of the Color Girls Museum, and Hinda Mandel, editor of the recent publication, Crafting Dissent. And given the timing of the symposium, which falls every year near an election because we coordinate with the Philadelphia Museum of Art Contemporary Craft Show early November, I suspect this year is going to be especially meaningful and interesting as we come together to examine the importance of making during this time. So I'm gonna put the link to that in our chat. And with that, I'm going to introduce NextFab. I am so excited to learn more about their recent projects, which include a brand new Artisan Accelerator program designed specifically to help artisan entrepreneurs craft profitable business models and reach new customers. And our friends Melissa and Jessica are here tonight to share a little bit more about their new space.
Hey everyone, thanks Layla. Good evening, I am Jessica Escow. I am the Partnership Coordinator over at NextFab. I am joined by Melissa Guglielmo.
Hi y'all, I manage the North Philly location. I also run our jewelry department. I'm in the studio right now.
And we are here to talk a bit more about the Artisan Accelerator, a few other programs that we have, and also show y'all a virtual tour of our 1800 space, which a lot of work, a lot of effort went into it, most of which from Melissa's team. Give credit where credit is due. Thank you very much, Melissa, for making that location what it is. And the idea with that location is it is not just a makerspace, but it is also a community space that has creative businesses and organizations on the other half of it, and we have our own organization there. I mean, the place is massive. To those of you who are not familiar with NextFab, we have been in the Philadelphia area since 2009. We started first in University City at 3711 Market. We moved to South Philly location, 2025 Washington Avenue in 2012, 2013. We opened the first satellite location that Melissa also managed. That was at 1227 North 4th Street, and that one moved to the 1800 North American space. And also in 2017, we opened one in Wilmington, Delaware as well. We're a network of collaborative spaces that provide artists, artisans, engineers, designers a space to create, craft, and work with others and really see what other people are doing. And without further ado, with all of that spiel out of the way, I'm going to toss it over to Melissa, who can talk more about her space and the accelerator.
Hi, y'all. I'm happy to see some familiar faces here, and those of y'all I haven't met yet, thanks for tuning in. So we specifically, this is a project I've ever worked on, and Jess is coming in with our Matterport scan, which is like we're really in the future now, y'all. We don't even need to be in person, but this is a 3D scan of the space, and we had really unfortunate timing. We worked on this project for 3 years, and then right when we were having our grand opening, March 18th, really bad timing, the world shut down, but we have a lot of amazing businesses that are open, and we are now reopened as well, which is amazing to see everybody actually get to utilize these studios. So in the space, you're going to see that there are a lot of artisan businesses that are all Philly born and bred that have moved in with us. So Sorines is going to be a new restaurant that's going to have a ton of outdoor seating. They have a liquor license. They're going to have a ton of vegetarian and vegan options, so you'll be well fed and liquored up. You have the Resource Exchange, which is essentially an awesome thrift store that saves materials from film and theater sets. They take donations if you have any things in your hoard at home, and they're open with limited capacity. You can go shopping there. You have Keystone Bicycle Company, which is a co-op of all of your favorite bike mechanics in Philly got together and opened up this really community-centered bicycle shop that not only sells bikes and gear, but also teaches you how to fix your own bikes and does repairs themselves. The Center for Creative Works, for those of you who are familiar, is an awesome program working with adults with developmental disabilities. They make beautiful work, and they're having a satellite facility that's just getting set up in the space now. You have a ceramic company called Destined Goods, and that's actually run by one of NextFab's own, Mark Brandon, and he uses 3D design software to make his porcelain slip cast molds, and then he has his own kiln and everything there. So he's actually walking down and using NextFab Studios for the 3D printers, the laser cutters to customize his goods. Really awesome work, and he's running a lot of promotions, so check him out if you're looking for some holiday gifts. You have Beatty American, who does salvage work. A lot of people know Bob Beatty. He's a sweetheart. And then you also have the Neon Museum, and that is run by Len Davidson, and there is neon glowing over all the walls here, and we do hope you'll come and check that out as you can. Now, navigating over into our space, we have a huge lobby, and we're going to be using this lobby to show off different gallery work and the work that our members make. So we have display cases and all kinds of gallery lighting. And in March, we are going to have the culmination of the Center for Art and Wood and NextFab combined to do a residency program that Jess set up for us, which is really exciting because we're going to have somebody working with all salvage materials making woodwork who'll be displaying it in this lobby. The space is really built for artisan production, which is really different, and there's not a space really like it that I've seen before. We focus on jewelry work and textiles work. You're going to see our textile studio over on the left-hand side, and I have to show off and give a little shout out to Kelly McGovern, who runs that program, but she's about to launch 8 industrial sewing classes, and I just made this apron today, y'all. It's so exciting. So you can make professional garments and get really amazing results. So Jess is navigating us into that studio right now. You'll see it's filled with industrial sewing equipment. And this is stuff you're not going to find anywhere else. So it's awesome to have this collection of lots of old, amazing sewing machines. And you'll see that we're built for scale. All these assembly tables in the middle are made so that everyone working in the studios around the perimeter are going to come out and work together. So we had heard feedback from our members if they work in their independent shop, if they're just a metal worker or a woodworker, they wouldn't really cross paths. And so much about why NextFab exists isn't just for the equipment or the education, it's about all those connections that are happening here. So everyone comes out into this central area to work together. And this is the jewelry studio we're in here, which is massive in comparison to our previous space. And we have plenty of space around all the benches for people to work. Now, I wanted to mention that we have a lot of space for rental here, and we did these kind of micro studios. They're 8 feet by 8 feet, and we have them starting to fill up with people from the local universities, people moving from other cities because of COVID that were kind of displaced, are now moving into studios here. And they're able to rent these starting at $375 a month, including a full membership here. And then they're able to set up their businesses here. Now, we are also launching an Artisan Accelerator program. Our first pilot of that just went live last week, which is really exciting. We have a mix of people from Delaware and Pennsylvania participating in that. And it's a lot of businesses that make handmade goods, but you've probably heard the hustle is hard when you're trying to make all of your things. The last thing you want to do is pull away from that, go to a computer and do that networking, do that business marketing. So this program is designed where they not only get help with that whole business side, but they also get to meet with artisan advisors like myself who have experience working in production and can give them tips and tricks to be able to navigate this stuff. So there's a lot going on here, and we don't have that Artisan Accelerator program on our website yet, but if you are interested in learning more, please do feel free to drop your, I'll put my email in the chat, and you can just give me a holler and I'll put you on that information list for that, because it'd be great to get people in locally that would really benefit from that help. And that's pretty much it. And I hope that this little tour teaser was exciting for y'all. And yeah, we will be seeing you soon. Thanks for having us, Layla.
Thank you.
Thank you. And sorry, there's one more additional thing. A couple other programs that we have going on is, of course, the Center for Art and Wood residency that Melissa mentioned. We also have a residency with the Leeway Foundation that is going to be starting also in the winter. We're also working on other really fun things like a relief fund, different sort of ways to not just bring people together, but also help folks in the local community to, come in and, get a startup, help themselves out. We've all been, beaten up a little bit, so we're doing what we can to, help out people. And thank you. That's it. I'm good.
I love all the work you guys are doing. As you know, we conducted a craft business survey this summer to kind of assess where people are with their businesses and with everything that's happening. And your partnership is really important to us as we start thinking about how we can bring the community together and support everyone. And I want to say that NextFab has donated an item for our upcoming virtual auction. I believe it's a free membership for 1, maybe 2 months, Jessica?
That sounds about right. Usually probably 2 to 3 months standard membership. So that's our middle one where that's unlimited access during operating hours.
So that is super exciting, and that allows me to give a plug for the virtual auction that is going to go live at the end of October and close on November 14th. So I would ask that you save the date for that. We're going to bring everyone together on November 14th for a small virtual program that will include Glenn Adamson, the editor of our publication, Craft Capital, which I'll show again because we're so proud of it, and it came out this spring. And I also want to say thanks to InLiquid, and we're going to be turning to them next because I got these great earrings at InLiquid's auction in the spring and just picked them up yesterday because they were helping me with the formatting of the online program because they are also great collaborators and friends of ours. With that, I'm going to introduce Claire, who's going to help introduce one of their exhibiting artists this month, who is in an exhibition entitled Satirical Candidacy, a 2-person exhibit featuring Deanna McLaughlin and Florence White's politically based works. So Claire, are you out in the audience?
I am. Thank you so much. So yeah, I'm here with one of our artists, Deanna McLaughlin. And tonight we're going to introduce our upcoming exhibition, Satirical Candidacy, which will be at our gallery, the InLiquid Gallery, and will be on view from October 7th to November 14th. So it's opening next week. Satirical Candidacy is a 2-person exhibition of McLaughlin and Wise's politically based works as a nod to the upcoming November elections. Through their use of wry humor and uncanny wit, McLaughlin and Wise investigate candidates, policies, and our current state of world affairs. Florence Weiss, who is not here today, unfortunately, her included works consist of a retrospective of her 40-year series, Presidential Manipulations. Deanna McLaughlin, who is here, has produced a new body of work for this exhibition with a special focus on our current president and the puzzling question of what is on his mind. So please come and see the exhibition at the InLiquid Gallery. We are open to the public on Saturdays, noon to 5 p.m., and Monday through Friday, we're open by appointment only. And we also hope that you can join us for our virtual opening reception on Tuesday, October 13th. And for more information, please see our website, inliquid.org, or follow us on social media. Without further ado, I'd like to introduce Deanna to share some images of her newest body of work and tell us about her process. Deanna?
Thank you, Claire. Thank you, Craft Now. The work that I have in the show is processes of things that I've been creating as a reflection of managing the waters of time that we've been passing through over the past 4 years. One of the first pieces that I was making took a couple of years to come to fruition because it's all new processes, and I want to give a shout out right away to NextFab for helping me in many of the designs. As a member, I've been having the great opportunity to consult and learn a lot of processes through them. This is a picture of the Troublemaker. Because everything seems to be a game now, I wanted to create a body of work that represents the playfulness of how things aren't taken seriously, even though they are quite serious. So this is Donald Trump's brain. And on the outside, modeled off the Magic 8 Ball, the images on the outside represent what's on his mind. So on the top, in the gold leafing that we see here, is a golf course, the largest portion of his brain. The prefrontal cortex has an image of the Twitter bird, right where the prefrontal cortex of executive functioning happens. There's a dollar sign. We have Fox News, as well as some boobies, Russian coins, and a Trump Tower. When you shake it and flip it over, there's a 20-sided die inside with 20 different Troublemaker statements, including things such as nasty woman, Mexico will pay for it, Confefe, China, Russia, other things that might come out of his mind. It's unpredictable though. These two models come in Cheeto Orange and Midnight Glow in the Dark Twitter. So you can get them in either a to-go chicken container to carry out or on a base stand that has artificial grass for the base of a mock golf course. It comes served on a silver platter with a tuft of his hair. It also comes with a certificate of authenticity. So there will be 20 total made representing the year 2020. In total, so what isn't available at the gallery, there you could order up to 20 of these will be sold, so they are historical collectibles. This was the final, or this is part of the series, also based on Trump, and I'm going to preface that the whole show isn't Trump bashing, but in the beginning, we were all very out of the water thinking about what was going on. So this is part of my Cartrageous series of manipulated shopping carts that I find on the street and then create into furniture, tongue-in-cheek, representing the arc of our culture from hedonism to homelessness. This cart is called Trumploy instead of Tromploy, and it tricks the eye because the other side of this cushion is artificial grass. The grass is always greener on the other side. Here for the cup holder, it is a found lamp cover that I found on Pine Street, which fits a champagne bottle perfectly. The next cart is two shopping carts that were already partially taken apart when they were delivered to me. They're painted green, white and black, and it's called White Collar Crime, What Goes Around Comes Around. I started thinking of this piece, wanting to make a tete-a-tete, but it was during the Weinstein and Epstein trials of everything that was Weinberger and Epstein trials that were happening during the last couple years. So what you will see as the fabric is this beautiful upholstery job with wool pinstriping on one side and black and white striped jail fabric on the other. And because of our current situation, each chair has a matching face mask to go with it. Here are some details of that beautiful upholstery, and underneath you'll see the steel rods that I bent with the hand roller, and there's green wheels that go with it. This piece is called Operation USA. I struggle with putting Trump's face on this, even though it is based off the Operation game, and the physique was an easy matchup. However, what you see in this game piece are cutouts like the original game board. The background also was placed on a bed, but Trump's pillow is a pillow of money, and next to his head lays a chicken wing and a drumstick, because he loves carry-out food. The leg is bound with a chain and ball. Inside of where the chain is now bound to his leg, you'll see next on the bottom left slide is a double-headed eagle representing Russia. The image of on the ball represents the IRS here in the United States. That is their emblem, if you don't know. So a detail of those internal pieces, which I hand carved and painted, represent things from marijuana, which was turned illegal in the 70s. Prior to that, it was legal, the medicinal qualities. Each of these pieces has some historical reference to what's happening now. So although Trump has blown the lid off of the social issues, these are current issues that have been in place for many years that we still really have not addressed. Next to the marijuana leaf is a brain representing mental health. So the brain has little band-aids over it. I mentioned the Russian eagle. This is Pence, and Mike Pence is placed right at the groin of the Operation game. He represents homosexuality and our lack of ability to address the issues and equality. Next to him is a thermometer for global warming and more issues we have yet to address. They've been spoken of and brought to our alarm for a long time. You'll see the Ku Klux Klan mask, as well as this jail, which represents the Mexicans at the border who are still being imprisoned, although from the turn of the century and before that, they have been heavily discriminated against, including fumigating them every day when they cross the border as day laborers. And even though there was a riot in 1917, these policies went on up through the 40s. This technique of fumigating the Mexicans as they crossed the border was a technique that was used as a model by the Germans in World War II during the gas chambers. So they got that idea from us. Things we don't learn in history. So Operation USA, literacy, recycling, greed, and Roundup, which is associated with Parkinson's, autism, gluten issues, and many other health problems, and women issues, because it is Trump, is represented by Karis, held in the palm of his hand. But again, this is intended to be a historical educational game, because everything is educational but funny to people, because we have a game mentality. People don't take things too seriously as they should. Which brings me to our next piece called Social Distancing 6 feet, because we are also supposed to be maintaining social distance. So I had my feet cast in rubber. The mold is something I can make duplicates of. There are 2 sets of these pieces, and they're highly detailed because the rubber mold picks up all the details in the skin. But you can see that this set out with a little bit of space between, because I am a tall person, makes the distance of 6 feet. So if you're ever in wonder of whether or not you and your friends are maintaining the right distance, this is the piece for you. This is a piece called Holding On by a Thread. It's one of the first pieces I made in March when we all went into shutdown. It seemed like this was something that everyone was feeling as if they were struggling with being bound up and isolated and not knowing what to do. But as a result of all the explosions in our media and in our world right now, what's really reflected on me is our lack of ability to be cohesive and the division that the attempt has been. So this piece is called Me We. I motorized it Thank you again, NextFab. Here's a short video of how it works. What we dropped out was the sound of the chicken rotisserie, which currently is what's used to motorize it. But the goal would be to make this a large-scale sculpture one day. As you can see, as it rotates, the idea is that we're thinking more about we than me. And around the base are the 34 articles of the Human Rights Amendments, which were passed in 1946 by the United Nations. Most people are not even aware of them. So you'll see around the base these human rights to remind people that America did sign this document in 1946. We might do better if we were to practice what it actually says. So again, it's intended to be educational. And that's sort of the work that I put together. There are a few more pieces, but in a gist, those are the main pieces for the show. That's it.
Amazing. Thank you. Thank you, Claire. Thank you, Deanna, for sharing your work. I love the range of materials and that you are working with NextFab to learn new processes as you come up with your concepts.
It's been great to have NextFab as a resource. There's always people there that no matter what your idea is, there are people there to help solve your problem. It's invaluable as a resource in our community.
And I love also how everyone tonight is super connected with one another, even though we have all these separate organizations. So thank you so much for that presentation. As Elisa Topol just shared, it is very topical, but also thank you for your sense of humor.
Thanks. Sure.
With that, I'm going to introduce our friends over at the Center for Art and Wood, also mentioned already tonight as a new partner with NextFab for their residency and a major contributor and collaborator for Craft Now Philadelphia. We have Jennifer Nava Milliken. I have your whole name written out here. Known familiarly as Nava, artistic director for the center, and she is going to share a last look at a gorgeous exhibition with Humaira Abid's work, Searching for Home. And I will say, even though we've all spent a lot of time at home, we know a little bit about what it feels like to be upended and can feel some compassion, I would say, for a lot of the topics in this exhibit. So Nava, thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Thanks, Layla. It's so great to be here, and I feel so honored to be among so many creative people in our city. It's really astounding and an incredibly rich landscape. And as a newcomer, I'm just thrilled all of the time by the discussions and the output of work and vision that we see represented here. It's really, it's a lot of inspiration for one curator to handle, but it's great to be here. And apropos home and ideas of home, this exhibition was really conceived and then first presented in 2017. So COVID was 3 years away from us at that time and very, very far from our vision. However, the refugee crisis and displacement of people in this world was something that was very much on the forefront of discussions and continues to be now with 65 million people displaced in the world. The problem is not being solved, and currently with the COVID pandemic, those people are among our most vulnerable world and largely ignored at this point. So that makes this exhibition and the discussion included in it incredibly poignant, and unfortunately continues to be very, very relevant in this time. This exhibition is a solo exhibition of work by Humaira Abid. She's originally from Pakistan, and she immigrated to the US and makes her home in Seattle since 2008. She is trained in wood carving as well as Mughal miniature painting tradition. And her work really pushes the boundaries of the expectations of both of these mediums. And as you'll see, she brings the same level of detail and commitment to mastery in both of those practices, and brings them together in inspiring and really surprising ways. And this in turn allows her work, which is really dealing with incredibly difficult and often very controversial discussions. It allows the viewer to sink into the work and be seduced by the beauty of it, and then confronting these issues becomes a little bit easier. And it's amazing to see the discussions that are fostered in this exhibition, first in its original presentation in Bellevue Arts Museum in Seattle, and now here in Philadelphia at the Center for Art in Wood. I do want to thank two people, first Jane, well, two couples, Jane and Joe Goldblum of Philadelphia. Jane is an immigration lawyer in the city and is incredibly busy, as you can imagine, in recent times, but has definitely seen the value of this exhibition and provided important support for its programming. And Helen Drett, English, is another supporter of the exhibition and a really a lot of inspiration for us putting it together. So with that said, I want to take you through a brief tour of the show. As I mentioned, it's Searching for Home is about a journey from the leaving one's home, or in most cases fleeing, in some cases fleeing without the opportunity to collect your belongings or collect yourselves or get your affairs in order due to political or ecological disaster, and then where are you after you do that. So it's really covering this liminal space of not having a home per se, but being on a quest for one. And it focuses particularly on women and girls because, first of all, Humaira's work tends to do that. It's very reflective of her own experience as a woman and as a mother, and being that the populations of displaced people who are most vulnerable in this crisis, as well as in the refugee experience, are women and girls. Well, so I'm going to take the tour that I'm taking you on is actually available in the center's at the center's wood site, and also in the Woodshed, which is our programming microsite. But I'll just make a few point out a few things. Borders and boundaries is what you're immediately confronted with, and it appears to be an installation of barbed wire. In fact, the barbed wire that you see is carved mahogany. So the artist painstakingly carved 30 feet of 6 levels of barbed wire and attached them to cedar posts. And then the underwear that you see here as you walk into the exhibition is, of course, women's underwear. You can see some detailed lace here, and then the elastic here, and the blood, which features a lot in her work, is meant to be an ambiguous sign of some kind of violence, and rather than a literal indication of something specific. She talks a lot about menstruation and women's ability in society to discuss it openly. And in the context of this exhibition, that is one thing that is present throughout, is the ability of women to deal with this particular challenges that our biology affords us. Another work is, as you travel through the exhibition, is The World Is Not Perfect, which is a collection of carved and sandblasted bricks with human debris included. And you see here shoes and pacifiers and other effects that typically tend to be viewed as banal. We have relationships with them every day. We handle them or put them on ourselves every day. We don't think of them as having any kind of conceptual significance. But in her work, they are signs of human life. And they allow us to enter ourselves into her installations and into the situations that she depicts. moving forward, on the opposite wall, you have this work here, which is titled Fragments of Home Left Behind. And this is a series of 5 framed miniature portraits. Each one of these images was taken from photojournalist depictions of children in refugee camps around the world, including in Jordan, in Pakistan, and also in Kenya, where many, many Somali refugees made their first stop on their journeys. And that's who we see here with Sophia Hassan Mahmoud and Itzhak Masmoud. And of course, they are framed against the backdrop of an interior wall that has experienced some kind of disastrous crisis. I'm running short on time, so I'm just going to take us through a couple of other pieces and then leave the rest for you to encounter as the exhibition is still on view. This series is Fragments of Home Left Behind, Part 2, and this is one of the newer works in the show. It is carvings of rearview mirrors that she's carved and then ebonized the wood and then included inside images, again taken from photojournalism, that depict refugees fleeing Myanmar to Bangladesh. And this is an ongoing situation that unfortunately, again, really has not received the full treatment of the world. And people are at risk and incredibly vulnerable to the situation. The World is Beautiful and Dangerous too, taking you through it just to show one of Humaira's one of the ways she focuses on motherhood. This is also a work that describes her connection to the situation, and it depicts her daughter in a lush background of cacti. So there is beauty, but also danger, and feelings of safety, but also feelings of risk. The depiction of her daughter in this work relates to another work in the exhibition, which is this one here. Oops, that's my timer. And this one is a depiction of an event that occurred in Peshawar in Pakistan when a number of Taliban militants came into a school and committed a massacre of young children on their first day of studies. And one of the victims was a young girl named Kaula Bibi, who was the same age as Humaira's daughter at the time. And so she was compelled to make this incredibly tragic work based on this tragic event because it had such personal relevance to her. So the number of pacifiers, I believe there are 39 here, are directly related to the number of children who were killed at that time. And I'm going to end it right here with a close-up view of Searching for Home, the title work in the show. It's a collection of suitcases that one might take with them when you're about to flee and start your journey of resettlement. So I encourage everybody to come to the exhibition, which is on extended view at the Center for Art in Wood. But the last day is Saturday, this Saturday, the 3rd. It'll be open all day, and then it will be packed up and sent to Pittsburgh, where it will open at the Contemporary Craft. And then following that, it's going on national tour. So we're really excited about that, and I can give you more information if you're interested. Also, Humaira and I wrote and created this amazing book of her work in 2019, which discusses much of the work that's in this exhibition. I encourage you to pick it up at the center. Also, you can message me if you want more information about Taboo, Humaira Abid. Thank you so much, everybody, and I hope you have a good weekend and come visit the show.
Thank you, Nava. Congratulations on a really amazing exhibit. Her work is not only breathtaking in the way it is executed, but in the content that it shares with us and what it teaches us about situations outside of our norm. I want to thank everybody for joining us tonight. We have had such another incredible program. I love bringing all of you together to see what you are doing and to give this platform for you to share with your colleagues and your peers and your community. I hope you will consider making a donation to Craft Now so that we can continue our work. I just put a link in the chat box. And I'd like to let you know that we are taking a pause in November. We will not be hosting a First Friday preview because that Thursday night will be the Philadelphia Museum of Art's Contemporary Craft Show preview night. So we are going to see how they have been able to transform that historic and important craft show into an online and virtual event in support of the artists. And previously, it has been the largest single fundraising event for the museum, which has allowed it to make acquisitions in craft and do so many other things. So please join the PMA Craft Show on November 5th. Join us on October 30th and November 6th for our symposium and so much more, our auction and cocktail party November 14th. So with that, I'd like to invite everyone to unmute themselves and say hello and talk to our presenters and give a toast and a cheers. And thank you all so much again.
Nyla.
Hi, Ruth.
Hi. It was so stimulating and innovative and wonderful, you know, and I learned so much more every time. And I enjoyed it. And of course, the show at the Center for Art and Wood, I've seen a few times, but I have to see it one more time before it leaves. It's just amazing. So thank you all. It was just a marvelous hour together.
Good to see you, Ruth.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I couldn't agree more.
Good to see everybody. Thanks for attending.
I see Barbara. I see our friend Patricia Fowler.
Patricia.
Hey there, Noah.
Hi.
Clara.
I had a chance to see the Hamara's exhibit. It is just astounding. I stood there staring at that barbed wire. When she spoke, she said how long it took her to do all that. It's phenomenal. Like, it's just
3 years.
Yeah, I couldn't imagine that it wasn't wire, because if it started, I was sort of in the back of the crowd at the opening, and I presumed it was wire with the wood. And I got closer as they explained it wasn't, and it's just astounding. Even now that I've seen it, the detail of everything adds to the poignancy, because she focuses on this detail of everyday life that you see, and then it just kind of hits you in its simplicity, but its detail in relation to the human that it goes with in the human story.
Yeah, that's beautifully said. You should take a look if you're interested. She just opened a new exhibition at, well, it's probably a mid-run now, at Greg Kucera Gallery in Seattle, and it's called Sacred Games. And so she brings all of her skill and mastery and her incredible vision and voice to a number of works that look at religion and society and personal relationships.
Thank you.
It's amazing work, and it's so timely. And what I keep saying is that wood and its timelessness and ubiquity really allows us to digest these works in a very special way, because otherwise they might be looked at as pop works, but they are very much not that. There's even a depiction, Deanna, you will like this. There's a depiction of Trump in traditional miniature painting, but she grounds it so beautifully that it's like, it's not even repellent in the way that you would think it would be. And I apologize. I don't mean to offend anyone, but this is the week. Sorry, not sorry. but it is incredibly, like I said, it's just all of her fearlessness is grounded by the beauty of the material and her work in it.
Wow.
And, anyway,
Ellen, did you have a question? She raised her hand earlier, and I didn't want to stop the presentation. I'm sorry we didn't have a moment for a question. I'm wondering if you'd like to share your question with us.
No, I didn't really have a question. I was just waving to say hello.
Oh, okay. Hello. Thanks for being with us tonight.
Oh, it's such an extraordinary show. Extraordinary and moving and visually satisfying and thought-provoking. Just wonderful.
Yeah.
We had such a range of really wonderful content tonight. So much skill involved. We had political satire. We had, very serious political issues. We had personal issues.
I have personal issues.
I have personal issues. No. And then we saw NextFab's awesome new space. Unbelievable to have an event scheduled for March 18th.
Mm-hmm.
I was supposed to travel to Virginia that week to see, my mentor had an exhibition opening March 18th and never got to see it, unfortunately. But
yeah, that was one of those things where like we prepped for months, like we're gonna have a big, like that was gonna be like the soft open where there are tours gonna happen, and then we're gonna have like the big grand opening party in like late April, and that just all kind of got blown out of the water once everything hit, like the week that it got hit.
March 16th we shut down.
Yeah, I remember that was some day, just seeing that order come through.
But here you are, and NextFab is opening an amazing space.
Yes, yeah. So we started having current members start to use space. Of course, we spent months getting protections in place for our folks and for members and staff. And that was in, I want to say June 28th is when we started getting members back in the space. And then we started gradually opening it up to new members in August, because there's like a wait list that we had going to the spring. And then soon we're going to be just opening up to everyone. So we're really looking forward to that.
We are too. And we're about to start our jurying process for the inaugural winter residency.
Yes, I'm so excited for that. Yeah, actually, there are several because Layla, Melissa are jurors on that. Also, Ryan Hyde, who is our assistant director of member services, who is also a very talented woodworker himself, is also going to be on that panel, and a few other folks. So that's really looking forward to that.
Yeah, it's exciting.
Wonderful.